Check it out, the moon. What's poppin', people? It's Dante photographing the moon this morning. It's around 5 a.m. Just waking up to have my morning walk. And yeah, I'm trying to stay and remain still because I'm at 1/25th of a second. You can create a new world in a fraction of a second. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think a vertical frame here. But yeah, I have to make sure that I'm holding my camera with stability. Snap focus to infinity using P mode on the Ricoh GR3. High contrast black and white crank to the max. Listening to the birds in the morning, the beautiful symphony, the beautiful music to my ears. You know, I think that when you set your body in motion without preconceived notions of what you will find, you know, this is where I believe humans can achieve this blissful flow state of existing outside the passage of time. For when you're inside and you're living on standby, your soul will slowly die, but moving your body along and listening to the beautiful song of the birds and finding yourself in a trance as the colors of the sky change from blue to pink to bright white, the different hues in the sky. I mean, there's something that's out there in this world that constantly has me throwing myself onto the front lines of life, just simply wondering what's out there as this curious explorer in life. I'm always eager to get outside. I'm always eager to open up my eyes, for I know that there's a surprise. It's just waiting. It's just down there. You know, you may go out there with your camera in hand as a street photographer expecting something. Why? Just go out there without preconceived notions. This is the first thing that should help you set your body in motion, detaching yourself from the outcome itself, detaching yourself from the result, the photograph. You know, I find that waking up early and catching the sunrise, to me, this is the ultimate joy in life lately, where the simple pleasure of walking, firstly, is just my #1 love in life. You know, secondly, having the camera in hand, allowing me the opportunity to create something from nothing, giving me this tool, this key, if you will, to unlock the multifaceted doors and complexities of life itself. You know, where this camera, it becomes a key, it becomes a sword, it becomes a passport, you know, where it takes me out there, even in my hometown, where I can find something new each day. And I find that my camera has guided me through life itself in a really unique and interesting way. You know, I find that the camera, it allows me to sort of float through chaos on a feather bed without real care in the world. I feel like I can just move and groove through the dangerous situation, through the chaotic situation, through the unknown, and articulate it and put order to it all. You know, for when I was in Mexico City just 2 years ago, I remember climbing to the top of the mountain in the outskirts. I believe the location was called Indio Verdes or something like this. I forget the name exactly. And I remember the people in the town telling me, oh, it's dangerous, don't go to the top of the mountain. You know, but I kept pushing myself to go to the top of the mountain. I kept looking for that cross that's positioned at the top of the mountain and trying to find that vantage point. I'm trying to find that place where I can look out to the horizon. I'm looking for that location that will spark my curiosity. And when I arrive in these locations, you know, I always find something to photograph. And alas, that is where I made some of my most successful photos from that trip. And I think that embracing the dangerous path, the uncharted path, the outskirts, if you will, you know, where I've always been this outsider, I've always been this explorer from the outside and sort of just finding my way inside through sheer childlike curiosity, embracing the spirit of play. You know, for that is where I enjoy my days. It's about taking life less seriously. It's about exploring openly and honestly. I think that that is where the photographer will thrive. For the photographer thrives on the front lines of life, you know, no matter where you may be in the world, right? You could be on the outskirts of a river like I am here, on top of a mountain, in the desert, or in the chaotic hustle and bustle of urban life. You know, there will always be something there, and you will always find something to say. Through the medium of photography, it can give every human a voice. You know, today I'm filming with the GoPro Mini, 720p, 30 FPS. You know, it's probably extremely dark. You probably can't see me, but you can hear my voice. You know, maybe the ultimate goal of an artist is to merely share your perspective or your POV. And so by using the GoPro Mini and sharing my point of view, whether through my voice or through my video, I can quite literally throw you in my shoes. And I think when I return to this path each and every day, I remind myself that there is beauty to be found in the mundane world around you, right? There is beauty to be found walking the same lane every single day. You know, there's something about embracing the simple pleasures of life, listening to the birds, watching the trees as they rustle in the breeze, looking out towards the river and the way that the lights glimmer across the beautiful water there, and finding yourself immersed in the multifaceted complexities of life, right, in a mundane situation, provides you with this endless and abundant feeling that I really, really want to share with the world, that it is just such a magical place to go out there. I mean, there's something about life that never ceases to put a smile on my face. And I think the reason is because I'm not just this passive bystander, right? I find that I have this active role, this vocation, this thing to do. I have something that's calling me to go out there on this adventure every morning, which ultimately gives life meaning, right? So, you know, when I consider photography, right, why photograph? Why practice photography? Well, photography affirms my life. You know, photography gives life meaning. And I think that's it, right? Like, that's the answer. And maybe that's something that we're all seeking in life itself, is the meaning of life. You know, perhaps ultimately our goal should be to expand our consciousness, to expand and uplift the human spirit to new heights, right? To champion humanity. And I think there's no better way to do that but through the medium of photography. You know, photography it's like this vehicle that allows you to see anew each day and just helps you remain curious, right? So like when I consider success, right, in this modern world, we have these notions of success, right? Buy the Lamborghini, have the fancy car, do this, do that, have this, have that. For me, the simple pleasures in life and embracing them is the ultimate sign of success, right? For me, increasing my curiosity 1% each day is the ultimate sign of success, right? So when I go to bed each and every night, I expect I won't wake up the next day. But of course, when I wake up with my eyes wide open, I'm eager and ready and joyful and grateful to have another day to be alive, right? I'm always blessed with my eyes open the next day, fueling myself with vitality, drinking espresso, enjoying some nice fresh glasses of water, you know, splashing the water in my eyes and just getting out there. You know, so for me, it's the ultimate sign of success if you're still curious, right? Detached from the outcome. You know, I'm not too concerned with the photograph. You know, the photograph, what is a photograph? A photograph is a byproduct of you entering the arena, entering the street, on the front lines of life, exuding curiosity and courage. By following your intuition, you will then create an intuition by placing your physical body closer to life itself. You know, where a photograph has nothing to do with a photograph. A photograph and photography has nothing to do with photography. It has everything to do with your curiosity, your courage. And recognizing that, I believe, is a critical thing, right? Where a lot of photographers that I've met along my journey get caught up with cameras, tools, lenses, all these bullshit things that have nothing to do with the medium itself. You know, it's just a thing that gets you there. And the more you're considering this thing, I think the worse you will be, right? I think a lot of the camera nerds, they're the ones that will never make anything interesting, and that's the unfortunate and sad truth. And I think that we need to liberate ourselves from these basic notions in the realm of photography, right? Really, why I am a fan of the compact camera is because I do not have to think about it. I don't care about the camera itself. You know, you can hardly see it in my hand. I don't, you know, I want the closest thing to not having a camera in hand. You know, I think when you have the camera on your neck and you're presenting yourself to the world, hey world, I'm the photographer today, check out my cool camera. Well, why are you doing this, right? Are you seeking some sort of praise or external validation for your profession or your hobby, right? Are you merely just presenting yourself like this actor, right? But when I embrace the street, right, when I'm on the street, not only am I an actor in this drama that unfolds on a street corner, on the stage, right? I'm also the conductor, right? I'm also the conductor of this drama, and I'm pulling the strings, and I'm, you know, making sense of things, and I'm watching as it unfolds candidly through spontaneity, and I'm looking at life this way as a stage, and the different people that pass by my frame are actors too. And perhaps the gift of photography to the individual is that empowerment where you recognize these patterns that exist in both nature, whether studying light, and human behavior, the movement of people, the gestures, the emotions. And then through photography, we can reflect the soul of the street. You know, where I wield my camera as a sword, striking through the heart of chaos, revealing the soul of the street to create visual order and harmony from the spontaneity of everyday life. You know, I believe that photography is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. For the past decade, I feel like I've lived 100 years of life. Because while you are out there in the physical world, exploring and meeting new people, engaging with life and all of its complexities, it extends the day. It extends your lifetime, you know, where you're fueling your body and your mind with these experiences, right? I feel as though photography, as much as it's this visual thing, you know, it's a visual game, I believe that photography, it's a physical pleasure. And through traveling, through exploring, through walking, and through speaking and meeting new people, you fuel your mind with these memories and these experiences that will be with you endlessly. And I think when I come to a river like this, maybe there's echoes of memory, there's echoes of history that flow through the water, you know, thinking of Washington marching along the Schuylkill, thinking of, you know, the great men and women who have lived centuries ago and experienced this same river, this same part of the world, right, where there's this connection to water that just sort of draws me in. There's this magnetic feeling I get that quite literally just brings me here. It brings me to Penn's Landing along the Delaware River. I can't really explain it, but I believe through repetition and through returning to this location and experiencing simple pleasures here, you know, where I actually grew up just a stone throw away, about 5 miles up this river, and throughout my childhood I would explore around this river. You know, I would explore with sticks and stones and create bridges and teepees and sharpen spears and explore in the woods, and I would find caves and, you know, create new paths and spend a lot of my childhood days in nature, in the forest, along this Schuylkill River. And so perhaps that connection, that memory, that feeling is evoked each morning when I wake up and I come to this location, right? Wow, this is just, listen to all the birds here for a sec. Yeah, I really do feel good in nature. You know, I feel like this is where I am meant to be. You know, you couldn't pay me $1 million per year to sit on my butt in the Comcast tower. You know, maybe to be a slave is to do something that you do not desire to do and become petty about it. You know, maybe freedom is finding purpose and meaning in your everyday experience. You know, freedom, it's maybe just this mindset, right? Freedom is outside. You know, freedom is to be like a bird soaring high into the sky. You know, freedom is singing and dancing like these birds. You know, expressing yourself. I'll never forget when I was in Ethiopia observing in Gondar or Bahir Dar. I forget the city. I believe it was one of those. They're close by. And the dancing and the singing around the fire, you just feel this human experience, this connection where you're just chanting and you're moving, and there's something about that raw human experience. You know, when I spent a few weeks sleeping on the floors of mosques in Jericho, you know, admittedly, for a long period of my life, I haven't felt the presence of God. You know, when I was taken from a middle school, a Catholic school, from grade pre-K to 8, and then thrown into a public school, you know, there's a separation of religion. You no longer learn about these things. And so from there, I kind of just fell to the side. I just kind of never really thought too much about something greater than, you know, studying and doing your little homework and whatever you have to do. And when I spent a few weeks in Jericho, you know, learning about the ways of Muhammad, you know, praying in a mosque with a group of brothers, you know, this simple process and practice of prayer and joining together with like-minded people, submitting to something greater, I actually felt the presence of God. You know, the first time I remember feeling the presence of God was in a mosque. And I just think that's interesting. I think there was something about the common, like there was something about the connection that you get with a group of brothers when you're together in harmony and sync. You know, there's something about that. You know, maybe the city, it's kind of like this ant hill. You know, we're just a bunch of little ants scurrying around. You know, ants are interesting. I remember my favorite movie growing up, or not my favorite, well, yeah, you know what, I freaking love that movie. I even had the game on the PlayStation, A Bug's Life. I think A Bug's Life was one of the first fully animated movies or something, like CGI or whatever, like whatever animation process they used. Like, was it Pixar? I think maybe it was Toy Story, A Bug's Life. There's another, like, also ants, like ANTZ. And you know, in A Bug's Life, it follows the main character, or the hero, Flick, as Flick is an innovator. Flick is attempting to create ways in which they can harvest the grains at a faster pace. He's inventing telescopes using the leaves and the dew. He's making things, he's tinkering with things. But the queen, she didn't appreciate Flick's innovations. Flick kind of got in the way. Flick was acting differently amongst the tribe. Flick kind of did things a bit different than the rest of the ant colony. And because of that, Flick was put on his own journey and sought to do things differently. For the colony's job is to provide food, right? It's to provide food for the grasshoppers that kind of just chill, and the grasshoppers are just kind of hanging out. They're using their military force and power over the ants, just due to their sheer physicality, right? Think of the Spartans and their control over the Helot population. And Flick went out into the city. Flick went out to new lands, and he was the explorer bug, and he went out there to seek other warrior bugs, and he came back to the colony with the warrior bugs, and he defeated the grasshoppers. He banished them from their land, and they were able to enjoy the fruits of their labor. You know, they could kind of just bake their cake and eat it too, I guess, if you will. And there was something about that call to adventure and story that Flick embarks on in the movie A Bug's Life that I admire. I think there's something about the warrior spirit. There's something about that we can channel in our life. Even considering the story of David and Goliath, you know, the small farmer boy defeating Goliath with a slingshot, with the precision of a headshot, with him armoring himself with God himself, you know, and he, with his courage or his heart, was able to defeat this giant. And when I was in Jerusalem, I remember visiting the Valley of Elah and looking out towards this valley where David and Goliath fought. I even explored in some of the caves and found ancient pots and things that were there from thousands of years ago during the Bronze Age. And It's a pretty cool experience, and I think that there's something about visiting these historic and biblical locations, putting these pieces together and confirming your faith. Even last year when I returned to Rome and I was exploring these different cathedrals and these beautiful basilicas and churches, looking at the works of Caravaggio, looking at the beautiful sculptures of Achilles and Hercules and these ancient Greek heroes in Florence, visiting the house of Dante. You know, when I was in Rome and I saw the inscription, I saw the pieces of the nails of the cross. You know, you see these things in person, you see the tomb in Jerusalem, you visit the old city, you go to these locations, and it kind of confirms your belief, your faith, and I believe it turns into a knowing. Maybe empirical sort of experiences, whether just a mundane everyday thing, or looking at a beautiful artwork, or looking at an artifact. Yeah, I believe that it can elevate your spirit to a new height too. You know, for me, the most, and the apex of beauty, you know, this museum here, this Philadelphia Museum of Art, I mean, this is an astonishing accomplishment, just the building alone, regardless of the artwork that's within the walls, which I believe is a really incredible experience. I love visiting the medieval section and seeing all of the knights' armor and their weaponry that they have on the 3rd floor, I believe. There's also like the Japanese section. You know, maybe the Japanese art is some of the greatest art in the world. They have some beautiful Japanese art, and maybe the Japanese produce really great art, I think. And yeah, but there's something about the apex beauty of art, just the apex beauty generally, that exists within a Catholic church, that, I mean, you just look at it and you just have no words. You know, you look up at the beautiful paintings, you hear the sound of the organ. Oh, look at the bird flying above that sculpture. Yeah, you hear the sound of the organ. You know, there's something about song and joining in song together as a collective. There's something about art, music, and how it shapes our culture, how it shapes our society at large. And yeah, I think my most recent trip in Rome, it's almost like I found my second home, where that is the apex of beauty. And I believe that surrounding myself with beauty, it's on the high priority list of my everyday life. So I come to this same vantage point each day to look out towards this beautiful architecture, look out towards the boathouses currently illuminated with lights, the waterfall, the horizon, the change of colors of the sky. We have the moon, the pavilion, the rock formations, the grass, the paths, the flowers, the plants, the birds, the breeze, the trees. And yeah, this almost feels like Rome. You know, I feel like I'm here in Rome. Check out the art museum there. You know, I've got my little Rome here at home, and yeah, it just feels like the place that I'm meant to be.